Here is drill 3, the magic moment of franklinwrites.com. So after you have tried to rewrite the author's sentences from memory, you can now directly compare your guess with the original sentence and see how you can fix your sentence to improve it. Hello everyone, this is Darren, the founder of Franklin Write, and today I'm going to show you how you can systematically improve your writing with Benjamin Franklin's training drills. So in his autobiography, Franklin shared his journey to master his writing, and his advice can be broken down into 7 simple steps or 7 drills. Let me show you how the 7 drills work in franklinwrite.com. So after you have created an account and signed in, you will now have access to Franklin's library, filled with amazing writing for you to study. For the sake of this demo, let's just study a random passage from The Hobbit. So you go to Novel, go to Fantasy, and then click on The Hobbit and wait for it to load. Here is a random passage from The Hobbit, and if you feel like this passage is incomplete, you can add the line above this passage, or add the line right after this passage to get a complete passage. You can also delete lines to get your ideal passage length. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to delete all the lines until I only have 4 lines to study. 5 lines to study. So now let's click continue. After you have chosen your ideal passage, now you can edit the lines. As you can see, line 2 and 3 should really be on the same line. So let's just combine the 2 and then let's delete line 3. So now we have a perfect chosen passage of 4 sentences. Now let's click continue again. So finally, we are now doing the first of Franklin's 7 drills. So this is drill 1, and let's click the question mark icon to see the instructions for drill 1. Here I have summarized the instruction, and here you can see Franklin's original quote in his autobiography describing these drills. So drill 1, after you have found the passage to study, for each sentence you would write down hints that can help you rewrite each sentence from memory in the next drill. So I want to emphasize that when you write hint, there is really no right way or wrong way to do it. As long as your hints can help you remember how to write these sentences in the next drill, that's perfect. So let's just add some hints here. So my hint would be, first I like to just describe how long the sentence is. It's medium length, and here are my notes for the sentence. Here are my hints. Glad to share difficulty more than any should endure. Once again, there's really no right way or wrong way to write these hints. It's all up to you. Just write down whatever that you think will help you remember and rewrite the sentence from memory. So for the second sentence, it's a short one, and no, said Thorin. Just no, Thorin. And then the third sentence, there is more in you of good than you know, child of the kindly West. Medium length, you're better than you think, child West. And then some courage and some wisdom blended in measure. Medium length, brave, wise, equal mixture. So these would be my hint for myself. And you will have to submit these hints to move on to the next sentence. Now we should be good. So when you're done with drill 1, you will face this prompt here. Benjamin Franklin recommends you to actually wait a few days before you continue with these drills. Why wait a few days? Because you can just forget all the sentences and then rewrite them in your own style. So when you're doing these drills, I would recommend you to click the schedule button and schedule these drills for maybe 3 or 4 days later. But for the sake of this demo, we would just hit continue. So for drill 2, let's hit the question mark icon and see the instructions. The instructions for drill 2 are using only your hint from drill 1, rewrite the passages from memory. This forces you to engage your attention. Okay, I am back. I have rewritten every sentence as best as I could using only the hint from the previous drill. So for the first sentence, I wrote, I'm glad to have shared your perils more than any Baggins should have endured. I remember that there's something about perils, and yeah, So this is my best guess, and I'm pretty confident this is correct because it's just so short. And now here, the hint is medium, you're better than you think, child of the West. I remember is something similar to you have more good in you than you think, kindly child of the West. So this drill is basically forcing yourself to handicap yourself and then force your like neurons to fire. You know, like doing this drill was really effortful, and I had to like force myself to think back to how Tolkien originally wrote these sentences. And then for the last sentence, medium length, brave, wise, equal measure, I remember Tolkien used courage instead of bravery. So he probably said something similar to your courage and your wisdom in equal measures, not equal mixture. Yeah, so I have completed drill 2, and now let's submit my guess and move on to drill 3, which is the magic moment. Alright, here is drill 3, the magic moment of franklinwrites.com. So after you have tried to rewrite the author's sentences from memory, you can now directly compare your guess with the original sentence and see how you can fix your sentence to improve it. So here, for the first sentence, I wrote, I'm glad to have shared your perils more than any Baggins should have endured. But this is what Tolkien wrote. Instead of writing, I'm glad to have shared your perils, he wrote, yeah, I'm glad that I have shared in your perils. And instead of writing more than any Baggins should have endured, he wrote, perils that has been more than any Baggins deserves. So here you can compare and contrast your sentence with the author sentence and learn a lot here. And you also have a nice similarity percentage, and you can track these as you go and see if your ability to reconstruct the author's sentences actually improve over time. So drill 3, as I explained before, you compare your passage with the original passage and correct any mistakes. This teaches you sentence construction. So I am going to just correct all my sentences, and then I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. I've corrected my sentences, and now let's hit the correct sentence button for each sentence. Oh, this one is not corrected. So some courage and some wisdom blended. Oh, blended in measure, not blended with equal measures. My bad. Alright, perfect. Now let's continue to drill 4. So drill 4, let's see the instructions. So you take the original passage and convert it into poetry. This helps you practice rhythm and flow. So you would just, here's the original passage, and you would just try to write it so that it rhymes, so that it flows, just whatever you feel like has rhythm and can be considered poetry. Okay? I'll be back after I have written my sample poetry. Hey, I'm back. So I have turned this original passage into poetry. So I wrote, yet I am glad I have shared your perils, been more than any Baggins deserves. No, child, said Thorin, there is more good in you than you know, blended courage and wisdom stored in great reserves. You know, it's not much, but it's honest work. So let's just submit the poetry and move on to drill 5. So drill 5, let's see the instructions. So you would convert your poem back to prose. Compare with the original passage, and this reinforces your understanding of the passage. So here's my poetry, and now you have to try to write it back into prose. And the previous drill, the poetry drill, not only helps you, practice your rhythm and flow, but now it also gives you a second chance to rewrite the original passage from memory. So doing this twice would definitely help you remember how Tolkien wrote his sentences. So I will try to turn this poetry back to prose, and then I'll see you soon. Alright, I'm back. So I have turned my poetry back to prose. And what can I say? Doing it a second time really helped me remember how Tolkien would have written these sentences. So I wrote, yeah, I'm glad to have shared in your perils. Yeah, I remember Tolkien wrote it like this. That has been more than any Baggins deserves. Second line is just really simple. No, said Thorin. And then it's, there is more of good in you than you know. And then the last line is some courage and some wisdom blended in equal measures. So let's see how I did. So you would submit the prose, and then now you can see the original. So as you can see, my similarity percentage went up. So for this first sentence, it's 95% similar. For the second one, this really should have been 100% if it were not for the quotations. And then here, oh, I forgot like this part. I completely took it out when I wrote my poetry. So yeah. And then the last one is 89%. Blended in measure. Oh, okay. There's no equal measure. It's just blended in measure. So here it really gave me a second chance to rewrite the original passage, and I can say that doing it twice really helped drill the lessons into me. So let's move on. All right, drill 6, probably one of my favorite drills. Let's see the instructions. So for drill 6, you will have to jumble your hints on each sentence, then reassemble them in the right order. This teaches you the organization of ideas. So franklinwright.com just randomly assorted your hints that you did in drill 1, right? And now you have to put them into the right order. All right, so if I remember correctly, it should be something about wanting, like some expression of gratitude, and then Thorin would interject, and then compliment the other person, and then he would elaborate on the compliment. So this is how Tolkien arranged his ideas, and let's see if I'm correct. And if there's no error message, then it probably means that you're correct. But if you want to double check, you can also click show answer. And as you can see, we are correct. Now, let's move on to the last drill, which isn't really a drill, because as you can see, Franklin Wright just saves your results, and now you can track your growth on a chart. So you would just press save stats, and stats updated. So that's it, the 7 drills.